Welcome everybody. It's another Thursday. We're doing Unfiltered Live. Good to see you all. Apologies for a few technical glitches here before we started. We're currently in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm here with Bryson, my mate, and we're here to film TikToks with the team that we're working with down here. And this is the studio where filming of TikToks is happening, and so we just took a break to do this show with you guys. So happy Thursday. What's going on for you guys? Where are you calling in from, and what's top of mind for you? Let's hear it in the chat. What are you excited about, or what are you struggling with? What's something that you would like to walk away from this conversation today having some new perspective on? I just want to see in the chat from everybody. Decluttering business services and planning for transition. All right, that sounds interesting. I'd love to hear more about that for sure. Yeah. What else we got? What is top of mind for you guys? I want to make sure that we're addressing what you need from us, what you most want to hear. So that's why I'm always looking to like, what's going on with you? How can I serve you guys? AI wave. Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. I've been looking at that a little bit. Walk on with my new way. I'm thinking about my courses, not doing it cheaper and cheaper, not do so much and try to give more all the time. Yeah, that's great. Setting up for success in the new year. All right, that's an awesome one as well. All right, super good stuff. So why don't we just jump into Shweta? Would you be willing to come on and talk to me about some of the stuff? Where do you want to start, AI or decluttering?
Hey, Calvin, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would love to start in the decluttering because that's just closest to more practical.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of when I say decluttering, there's some services that you need to make space for new things to come in. And as we evolve as human beings and creativity evolves and other things, niches change, etc. So I'm kind of in a space of feeling really excited about the new services that I've already been working on with clients, but not in a public manner. So 2023 is going to be launching kind of on a more public level via like webinars or something, education around this particular part of my work. But it also means a loss of income. And so I'm in the space of like, how can I create an easeful transition if even that exists? Because sometimes when you just got to let go, and you may need to be in a space of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'm just kind of navigating some of that right now.
What's the new and how confident are you in it?
Yeah, so that's not completely totally unrelated. I'm a Ayurvedic Eastern medicine practitioner, and I serve a general population with prevention or all diagnosis, or for people who want support on a body-mind level, but then spiritual level as well. And the space that I'm offering, I've been doing birth work as well. Birth work with infertility, pregnancy, and postpartum. But the newer part is the subtler aspect. So where we work at the subconscious repatterning work for the
what aspects are?
The subtler
aspect. Okay.
Yeah, so which is the subconscious repatterning of the baby, which most people don't even think about. And for me, this is like one of the key solutions for a just and harmonious world when our children, especially at the before the womb, in the womb, and after the womb, and we're supporting or harmonizing their negative subconscious repatterning work so that they're set up for success and harnessing their highest potential in their adulthood and not waiting till their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Totally. That's
So,
amazing. Yeah.
so, it's the type of work, I guess, where,
So so if you could do just the new stuff, just the subtler work,
yeah.
would you do that? Would you prefer to do just that?
So here's where is kind of where I've been thinking about, because these are services where they're not tangible, right? When people are looking for results, they're like, hey, you can help me. People feel when they're burping or their pain is gone,
Mhm.
right? And their body or mind or whatever suffering emotionally.
Right.
But when it comes to these subtler aspects and these services, you can't feel when a pattern is changing.
But people buy shit like that all the time, right? Like when you buy vitamin C, can you feel that it does anything? No, right? But you believe it, and so people are paying for it. Like any like multivitamin or any kind of supplement. Like there's so many things that people buy that they can't really feel. So an immediate impact on. So I don't think this is different.
Hmm.
But if you
Yeah.
tell a good story about it and you speak into the beliefs they already have about how important this is, which you can very easily do, I don't see why there wouldn't be a market for that. If you just, help people already want to believe that like this, that, and the other thing is they're going to do something good for them, and taking it makes them feel good about it and about their decision. They're already predisposed to wanting that, to want to feel that way, and to want to pay money for it. So you just tap into that and tell a story that allows them to tell a story to themselves about how this is good, which it is, but that's it.
Hmm. Yeah. So something like verbalizing, hey, you don't want to pass on your own, because the fear there is they
100%,
don't want
right?
to pass on their baggage to their children.
Right, exactly. And like that's not everybody's going to care, but you don't need everybody to care.
Yeah.
You just need
Yeah.
a few, relatively few number of people.
Yeah.
And like if you're pregnant, if you're having a baby, that's already a really costly affair. People are like the right people are going to be willing to invest quite a bit in that, right? You can easily make this a $5,000, $10,000 program where you use all of your powers and resources to make sure that they set themselves up for their child up for the best possible life.
So going back to my original question is because I haven't really tested it out publicly, because I have been offering the services through my Ayurvedic clients who I do birth work with, because they already understand and they get it, the importance of it. And but then if I'm getting rid of some of the other services, it kind of keeps a gap on my income, which is what I'm concerned about. And
Yeah.
how would I plan so that, because there's so many unknowns and have to still set up everything to launch the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how to navigate practically like
Well,
that.
so keep
Yeah.
the like keep running what you're doing, but do the 80/20, right? So keep the 20% of the work or the clients that give you 80% of the revenue or the joy of doing the work so that you free up some time. You're going to probably see some dip in income, but just, keep that at a level that you're comfortable with. Make sure that for me, it has always, what has always worked the best is just, draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to force myself to do this new one. And if you have the guts to do that, you can do that. Or you can keep doing the old one, but really filter hard in anything that drains your energy or is not worth the income to the amount of effort. And then focus all of your energy, force yourself to focus your energy on building the new stuff up, right? So if you get for me anyway, and for a lot of people, it'll be scary to do something new. And oftentimes, the closer we come to something that we're deeply passionate about, but might have a little bit of hangups about, maybe we feel unworthy of it or something like that, or we're afraid of how people are going to respond or how they're going to see us. There's going to be a little bit of a tendency to go noodle with the old because it's familiar versus boldly and confidently jumping into the new. So just make yourself like take your little girl by the hand and be like, hey, I know you're scared. This is new and exciting and stuff. I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna do this, and but make yourself focus on building the new stuff. Build out a simple and solid go-to market strategy or funnel or whatever you call it. Like, where are you going to get your leads from? Maybe you have them. Maybe you need a new lead source. How are you going to communicate a message about this? How are you going to convert them, make the sales, and then how are you going to deliver on it in a way that works for both for you and for them? And I mean, and yeah, this is no, that's what I wanted to say.
Great, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, cool. And then AI is super interesting, right? Like, I don't know, a lot of people have seen the Chat GPT thing that came out recently, where you can, and I have a friend, I'm going to dive into this more and try to get some information from me and for all of you guys. But one of my friends is actually building an AI tool that allows you to create a course plus landing pages plus like a bunch of stuff in like 15 minutes with AI, which is super interesting, right? Like that. And maybe you need to then go make some tweaks and some edits, but it still gives you like all the foundations. It's going to completely change the kind of the market of courses. It's going to be so much easier for people to create courses. I've seen people do like, write me an exercise plan or a workout plan or a meal plan or something like that with these constraints, and they'll actually go do that, and it's quite good. So it's damn interesting what's happening. I've been looking at AI for a while, and it's new to me with this Chat GPT thing to see how powerful it can be to create structured content like that. I didn't realize that was a thing. I've been thinking about it more in like conversion optimization and trying to figure out how to segment people and things of that nature using AI, but this is super powerful.
What's different about that? Like, why does that shift happen when you like that?
Well, because I'm just seeing what that Chat GPT model is capable of writing, and how effectively it is. I don't know if you saw some of the examples that I posted internally, but like, one of them was just like, because it's been feeding on the entire Twitter feed, so I was like, write a tweet in the voice of me, and it wrote something that was like, might not be something, but it was definitely in the tone of something that I would write. It was just quite funny. And I think did I have it write a course outline, for example? And then you can just go into, you could do that, like write a course outline for a course on so and so. Boom. Now it'll write. You can do that today on openai.com with their model. And then you can say, all right, write the details of list module, and it'll remember what you've talked about. It's super interesting. What have you seen, Shweta?
I'm not a techie, so part of me like is scary. Part of me is like excited. It's like this very interesting dualistic relationship that
Yeah,
I'm finding myself in.
I think most people, right?
Yeah, because I'm like, what you just shared about, having landing pages and all these things written. And then I'm like, well, is it in my authentic voice, right? Will it put out like who I am as a human being and my point of view around a certain topic or something like that versus like some generic stuff. But again, I think everything in the universe is either poison or nectar. And how am I going to use it or moderate it, or, what are the benefits of it? I don't know. So
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the authentic voice, because something I've been thinking about today, because I'm here, like I said, in St. Pete to film TikToks with a crew here, and they're doing a lot of directing. So I have lots of things that like I know are kind of my things, my authentic voice, and then they're like, okay, like what if it was like you know, your best friend cheating on you with your girlfriend, and like what would you do then, and like what are the steps, and what does this mean, what does that mean, like, and they force me to get into like a lot of areas that are like, oh shit, I have to think now, and I have to be like, is this actually true, or is it like, and it's kind of like you have 30 seconds or 60 seconds, you need to simplify it and speak to like a 17-year-old audience, because they're the gatekeepers of TikTok, right? They're the ones that have to engage with it, or nobody's going to see it. And so I'm finding myself just being like, all right, like letting go of that a little bit, because like I can't control it. Like I can't be effective in the world if I have to be like, every single thing is this 100% authentic. Like this is freaking TikTok, right? Same thing with email, in a company where I've always been very protective of my voice. Like if an email comes out in my name, it's because I personally literally wrote it. And I've let go of that a little bit lately, because again, it's like, if I want to grow as a company, it's like it's more effective sometimes that it comes from me. If I'm directionally okay with the content, it's not exactly how I would have said it, or maybe exactly the example that I would have used. Like, just let it go and be okay with that. I'm noticing that there's a part of me that's holding on to that out of like fear of losing control, and just that fear is not helping, right? So just like, all right, and we're going to make some mistakes here and there. Like, we're never going to say anything that's, you know, I trust that we're not going to be saying anything that's like, that would be terrible. It's always going to be directionally there. Generally, I'll have people write under their own name, but sometimes it just is what makes the most sense. Does that, do you know, like what I'm trying to get at here? So with AI as well, like, I would focus on your authentic voice is in when you're actually working with people and delivering stuff, right? So if you have a course and you're going to record something, you're going to be recording that yourself. And if you know that your intentions are good and that the results that you're creating for people are good, and then there's some copy that comes out that isn't exactly how you would have written it, but it means that the copy comes out, and it means that people have access to this and might buy this that otherwise wouldn't, and now you can impact them. That's a net benefit.
Right.
So that's how I think of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Again, total infant, not even in the process. So what I'd be interested, because I'm part of George Cow's community, I use Simplero
Mm,
because, you know, obviously he's
welcome to We
one
Love
of your
George.
biggest clients. And so I'm interested how you guys will be integrating that in your platform and how it plays out on as a user.
Yeah, we don't have anything yet right now, and there's no concrete plans, but I have been thinking about, all right, so when you go to write an email, have a way to kind of chat GPT style, like write a prompt for what you want, and then we'll write the email for you, or like AI will write the email for you, and then you can just go edit it from there. I think that would be super helpful. Same thing when you're like, hey, course, instead of like creating all the modules and all that lessons and all that stuff yourself, like be like, hey, write me, I need a course outline for this, and then the AI will say, hey, what about this, and then you're like, yeah, go for it, and then we'll create all the thing, and then you still have to record the videos, but then maybe there's for the content, like, hey, give me an outline for a video on such and such, and it would generate it. So that's kind of the direction that I'm thinking. Same with landing pages, right? Write me a landing page for our sales
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, you know, it's my first time here, but I would love for, as you go through your process, if you record some videos that are focused on your process of experimentation, that would be super cool to view and understand through that way as well. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, experimentation with AI, or
Yeah, like how you might integrate it into Simplero, or in
right,
general, your point of view as you're learning too, right?
right.
And thinking about things. But yeah, just kind of sharing has things evolve for you, because I think that's just part of our realities now. So yeah.
Oh, it is, yeah. yeah, what I would, I mean, I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I'd like play around with the Chat GPT version just because that's easily accessible, and I have been playing around with it. So I'd, for these specific examples, I would try and see what it comes up with, and we can use that. They have an API you can plug into that one. There are also other models out there that you can use. They all cost money, but you can use them and you integrate with them. So figure out which one I would work best, and then I would roll it out as a beta feature and start to have people use it and test it and see what they find, right? So it's like, does it seem like it could work? Figure out the right model, build it into, get people testing it and giving feedback on it, and then yeah, we can keep building on it if it seems to be working, which I don't see why it wouldn't be. All right, cool. Thank you so much. Bryson, anything that you want to double click on here?
I'd love to your experience, like you talked about here, recording and kind of that process. I think that's pretty cool. Like, kind of just how you have to become a character of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like we'll talk, you and I, Bryson and I will record stuff together where it's basically just a conversation and interview style, and it's long form. And I wanted to try to replicate that, where kind of we have our conversation and then they would come in and be like, okay, this is interesting, double click on that, let's try to like tell it again, but tell it this way, or make it a little simpler, or that kind of stuff, which is hard because now there's like Bryson and me, and then anywhere from 2 to 4 other people in the room, all throwing ideas out. What about this hook? What about that hook? And this, like this thing, and that, like all these kinds of different kinds of ideas. And then I'll be like, okay, that one. So I'll literally speak a hook, like how I saved Richard Branson's life, right? Or something like that. Or like, here are 2 things I learned from my rich uncle about what shaped his success, or something. Like, I'll take one of the hooks that they say, and then I'll say the hook, and I'll be like, fuck, what do I say now? Right? Like, how do I answer this thing? Like, now I set up the premise. I know directionally what I want to say, but then when it needs to be shaped into the form of the answer to a hook like that, I have to really stop and think. And sometimes people have ideas, and then I'm like, is that literally true? If you have belly tension, is that always fear, or could it be something else? Like, I don't know that I know. I don't know that I know for sure. It seems like it would be mostly fear, but could it be? It's probably fear. All right, fuck it. Let's go with it and say, if you have tension in your belly, it's because of fear. And then like yada, 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 right? So it's like that kind of process. And it gets intimidating to me. Like, for me, when we're recording and I know that it goes out to thousands of people, that's fine. But then when there are like random other people in the room listening in, like, I start to get self-conscious, and that's a whole other ball game, right? Yeah, I think the process of just learning, like, I think if there's one key lesson here, it's to be compassionate with yourself and the process of putting yourself out in public. It is intimidating. It is something that most people need to learn and get used to. And it's okay that it takes time, and it is okay that it feels super uncomfortable and awkward. And it's okay that you suck at it the first many, many times, right? I started doing public videos in 2008. And if you go back and look at some of those old videos that I did, it was very different vibe, and like very, very odd and awkward. But we all start somewhere, and we put ourselves out there, and the more that we do it, the easier it gets, and the better we get at it. Yeah, working with those directors is like a little challenging. I kind of want to find a director of our own. But I feel time pressure as well here, because it's like we only got so much time. We flew down here, and then we shoot like like this morning we filmed from 10 to 12:30. I think we got like 5.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they turn into multiple TikToks because then you switch out the hook and you basically have the same thing, or they can milk the material for multiple ones, but it's still like it's slow going, right? Like that's 5 days worth of content in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it is.
You
Yeah.
did good though, I will say.
Thank you.
You did good.
It's fucking challenging, I'll tell you. It's not my funnest hour of work. It's not. But you know, I want to master the form. I really want to figure out how to make that stuff work. So you just gotta, and I got great helpers. So it's just a matter of keeping at it.
I want to say this. They've talked about being a character. Like, do you feel like people need to take that idea of being a character, even in information business? Like, you can't really be your true self, or it has to be some other form of you.
I think it's helpful to think of yourself as a character, right? Like that, where I learned about this years ago from Dan Kennedy. It was one of his, probably the thing that I took to heart the most from what he taught. So Dan Kennedy, for those of you who don't know, is a super old kind of direct response marketer. He's still alive. I think he lives in Arizona, as far, or maybe he lives in Ohio, I forget. He was actually, he had a business partner named Bill Glazer. I was with his daughter last night at a meetup, so it was kind of fun to meet her and like kind of inside of that family. Glazer Kennedy Inner Circle was the name of the company back then. I joined in 2010, went to some events. Anyway, so one of the things that Dan Kennedy talked about is how making yourself into a character that is based on you and is true, but is kind of an exaggeration of yourself, is you know, a little bit more like you play into certain things, that's really helpful. And like saying this, I'm like, we need to do that more, honestly. And I actually have a document. Did I share that with you, called Calvin the Character? I haven't shared that with you. All right, I'll share that with you. Whereas like going through this exercise, because like, so it's like, what are your superhero powers? What are your pet peeves? What are your you know, hard to believe accomplishments? What are your weaknesses and shortcomings, right? What are your key parables that you keep sharing, that you teach people, you know, talk about, that are teaching stories, etc. And like one of his insights was that people love to follow the adventures of a character, right? Series fiction, where you have, you know, Jack Ryan, for example, like is a fictional character, or Sherlock Holmes, fictional character, or what are some of those, like the long running, like there's like 20, 30 books in a series with the same character, because people love to follow that shit, right? Even every TV show, like, you know, like people just love following, like what are they going to do next? And so there's something extremely powerful in using that in your marketing, of like, what the fuck is this guy going to do next? If he can keep people on the edge a little bit and can tune into that story, that can be extremely powerful. And I think just showing up a little bit exaggerated in that way, where like, yeah, what you put out in public is not exactly who you are. It's you know, yeah, it's an exaggeration of who you are for the purposes of engaging people, so that they can actually listen to you and hear you and take it to heart, and then you know, buy from you and implement something in their lives. There's a big thing that happened a couple of weeks ago with a guy that calls himself the Liver King. Do you know what his real name is? I have no idea either. He calls himself the Liver King. You can Google this. There is he has this supplement line where he, like, it's like organ stuff. So liver and I forget, like other organs is like that you can buy in pill form. And he's like, yeah, and I eat this raw liver and like raw egg yolks and whatnot. And then like he's this, if you look at his photos, he's like fucking strong, like nobody's business. And then a couple of weeks ago, it came out that he's doing steroids, right? He's doing hormone treatments and has been doing that for a few years. And all of a sudden, all the same, at the same time, he's like pretending like he's not, and he was lying about it. He's been asked specifically in the past, like, you want any kind of hormone replacement or steroids, and he's like, no, I'm not. But then it came out proof that he was, and that's bad. Like, I don't endorse that. I don't condone that. It's actually, I kind of want to do a response video to his apology. There's a six-minute video with his apology and explaining why he did it. And it was basically like, well, I used to be able to build a lot of muscle without taking any supplements, and then I got older, and then I couldn't, put on muscle the same way before, and I felt really bad about that, and so I was like, let me get some hormone treatment. I'm like, yeah, welcome to nature and to life, right? And then he was like, but like, yeah, it was like I felt so in lack of confidence and wrong, and so therefore I needed that. I'm like, go work on those feelings instead of taking drugs for it, right? Like, figure out your self-worth issues instead of drugging yourself. But yeah, he did a good job in this larger than life character. And I'm not saying you have to do it in the way that he is, but there is a point in playing a role, playing a character. Just don't go lie about it, but you can definitely exaggerate certain parts.
So how do you do that with the authenticity? Because I feel like a lot of people in our world feel like authenticity means you can't expand that character.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're always like, you're a different self with your intimate partner than you are with your employees, than you are with your mom and dad, than you are with like your kids, that you are with your best friend, right? We're always playing a role to some extent. There is no quote unquote authentic self in that sense. Like, but we just play appropriate for the situation. So I think of it in exactly the same way. What is the appropriate, like, if you're on stage, there's a different behavior that's appropriate. There's a bit different way of speaking. Like, I wouldn't speak this way if we sat down and had dinner. Like, that would be super awkward. That would be super weird. But here it is appropriate to communicate in a different way because of the situation. So it's all authentic. It's just what's helpful in the situation. We are a living drama. We so are a living drama, aren't we? It's really fascinating. Like, I love politics. I love the world, like everything that happens on the big stage of politics, because it's all fucking drama. It's all one big ass TV. It's the best TV show ever. I basically don't watch any TV shows anymore. The turning point for me was watching the TV show Scandal. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. But it was like 4 or 5 seasons of just complete bullshit that was all, if Olivia Pope and the president had just told everybody, yeah, we fucked, like, we slept together, and like, what are you going to do about it, right? There wouldn't be any show. And like, the whole thing is all just because nobody tells the damn truth, and they would just tell the truth, just like, then the whole thing would be over. So I don't know what we need like drama TV shows for anymore, now that we have this. Like, the world has just exploded like recently. Have you guys seen the Elon Musk Twitter files things? If you haven't, go on Twitter, look at Elon Musk's feed, and scroll down and find where he's retweeted the Twitter files, like proving that the FBI has paid Twitter to censor so that the outcome of the election would be what they wanted it to be, which is basically like, there's not a democracy in this country. Like, that's a fucking interesting TV show. It's the best. I haven't seen a TV show this fucking cool ever, right? Like, so just watch the news, or watch the reality. It's the best thing there. And now a lot of people then have a lot of feelings on it, and they're like triggered, and they're like, oh shit, this is wrong, and like, this is bad. I get scared and all that stuff. And that's where I'm like, all right, work on your feelings, right? Whenever you get triggered about anything that happens out in the world, whether it's in your business, your own intimate life, or in the world of politics, it's just a pointer to where you have some feelings that you haven't processed yet, right? Because it's triggering some old buried feelings for you. So just process that, heal that, and we can talk about how to do that. You can Google that. And then what happens is that you start loving every time you get triggered. You're like, oh, thank God, I get triggered because now I get to heal this piece of me that has been stuck in this emotion for years and years. And you get to be free and you just get to enjoy the ride, right? I'm like, I find the whole thing, fascinating and entertaining and amusing, and I don't get scared about it. I don't have this story about like how things should be different and like it's wrong and I need to fix it or somebody needs to fix it or all that stuff. Like, it is what it is. I'm happy. My life is great. And yeah, like we all have the ability to just love everything that is in our own life and in our reality and not be upset about it. So that was a little bit of a detour here. Are we getting Kristen on?
Yes, I'm on.
Yeah.
But we don't have to
All right.
talk about this right now. I put out a question for you. I have been in Simplero since 2018, and I have made 6 courses and are planning one more. And I'm also planning a new website with stuff from every course. So, and when I have been with you for 2 weeks, I start to think perhaps I just keep doing more and more and more, and it doesn't happen too much.
Yeah.
Perhaps I shouldn't do so much, so many.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Do less and do it better for sure.
Yeah.
And charge more for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to think in another way.
Yeah. What I like to think about, like, who is the person that, like, not specific person, but who's the avatar that you understand, that you know how to reach, and what is the pain that you can solve for them, either the pain that they want to get away from or the dream or aspiration that they want to get to, where that thing is big and important for them and they are willing to and able to pay a lot of money for that. What is that combination? What is the avatar? Someone who has more money and probably more money than time, a big pain. What is that pain? How can that you can help solve? If you got that, then you can create an offer that includes some course components, that includes some group components, that includes some community components and whatnot, and that solves the problem that you can charge a really good amount of money for. And then you're in business, and start there. And then if you want to do something lower ticket for people who can't afford that, then you can, but start where the money is. Because that's, I mean, business is more fun when you make money. A lot more fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. It is, I mean, it's really a mistake that I see a lot of people make. And I think I've been thinking a lot. We had a conversation, Bryce and I, yesterday about like playing in the big leagues, or like, stepping out of our bubble in a way. And we were just talking about Twitter and Elon Musk, right? Like I'm doing quite well compared to most people. But then you have other people like Elon that goes and buys a public company for $44 billion, right? Like a completely different ball game. And it's like, what's the difference, right? And it wasn't like he had $44 billion that he inherited or anything. He's built up that entire wealth in his lifetime by doing one thing and then another thing and then another thing and then another thing. And he's like a few years older than me. Like, what is the difference? What is the difference? I think part of it is really, daring to play in the big leagues, daring to play, and the big leagues is kind of trivial, but daring to play in the space, on the stage that feels like it's the right one for you, not from your small self that's scared of stepping out, but if you ask your higher self, what is the right stage for me to play on? And then you decide to play on that stage. Or you can just, what you want to do is you want to mentally go there first, and then you notice the resistance that comes up and says, oh, you're not worthy of that, and like, or someone's going to attack you and say you're a bad person, or like criticize you for something, and you're going to be scared. Like, what is that resistance that comes up? Because if we're unconsciously committed to staying small and not play where we're supposed to play, then life is going to suck. It's going to be hard. Because like the work that you're here to do and the stage that you're here to play on, that's where you're going to find things flowing. If you're trying to play at this level, like imagine Elon Musk again, coming into like a small accounting firm, local accounting firm somewhere, and like trying to do his job there. He would be a complete misfit, and people would hate him and be like, get away with your brash, bold ideas and all that shit. Like, that's not what we want to do. He would never be successful there, right? So you can be unsuccessful and miserable playing on a small stage, thinking that you have to earn your way up and your right to play on the big stage. But you'll never make your way up there because you're a mismatch for the stage. So you're not going to be happy and successful on that stage. You have to choose to go to the stage that you're meant for, and then deal with that resistance. Because if you're not there, it's because you're unconsciously committed to something else over being there. So being aware, like getting awareness on what that is, so that you can get it out of your system, so that you can take that stage. Yeah, because I mean, otherwise it just gets to be a freaking struggle. And it's not about the billions and the private jets and all of that stuff. It's not about that. It's just about, are you in the place where you can do your right work? Are you in the right context, right? You can be like, okay, again, Elon, right? He's like revolutionized space travel, right? With SpaceX. Brilliant. Had he been, born into like a tribal family in Afghanistan, chances are that those skills, those talents wouldn't have been as useful, right? It's like, you can be as brilliant as you want to be, but if you're not in the right context with the right people who can appreciate that and bring the other talents and skills around you that you need to do this, like, it's not gonna do you any good. So yeah, choosing to be playing on the right stage, super important.
How do you know you will never be fit for a stage? Like, that coming to that realization, that's a hard part, to be like, that stage I'm just probably not going to be able to get on
because it's like too big a stage, kind of thing.
It might not be for me,
right? Well, what are you called to, right? What are you called to, and where are you called from? Are you called to, because I think a lot of people are like, hey, I have no interest in that, right? I want to be like, take care of my family. I want to teach the kids at the local school, or I want to like just work locally in my community, do that. Like, that's totally great. Like, there's this whole like, oh, like, I don't think what Elon is doing is better, or that I don't think he's necessarily happier than someone who's just taking care of her family and kids, or like someone teaching the local school or something like that, right? Like, what he does, he has all the like, he has a jet and travels to the World Cup final in Doha, and he has like all the money and the resource and all that stuff, but he takes a ton of heat, and he's clearly not in very good shape, and has been through like 5 marriages or something like that, right? Like, it's like, there's plenty of complications and problems in that guy's life, and he probably has like much bigger problems than most of us have, right? And he probably, I don't know that he has a better life, and better or worse life is really about you and what lights you up. But I think there's what your heart is called to, that is not coming from ego and like, I need to be in this on this big stage because I need to prove it to all the people and naysayers when I grew up, or my parents who didn't believe in me, or yada yada yada, all that stuff like that. Put that away, right? Just like, just breathe that out, all the ego stuff, and just ask yourself honestly and curiously, and like wonder about this question, and let the answer bubble up from your unconscious of, what is the right stage for me? Like, honestly, what is it? and then go for that. And even if it's difficult or challenging, keep going for it, keep shooting for it. Because what have you got to lose? Yeah, to me, there's no like, why wouldn't, like, it's more, it's going to be challenging to head to that stage, but it's going to be so much more rewarding to, even if you never succeed, which like never is a very long time, but even if you don't succeed, at least you took a shot, right? Versus being like, a lot of people I feel like are telling themselves a story of like, oh, but yeah, but it's probably fine, and I should just let go of those aspirations and dreams, and like, all my friends seem to be fine, like, they don't have those kind of, like, who cares? Like, you are you, you know what's right for you, just go at it. And if they think you're crazy, let them, and at least you have the experience and you gave it a shot. I'm so much in favor of like, give it a fucking try, give it a go. If that's what you feel like is right for you, give it a go. Yeah.
So we got 3 minutes left, but
Cool.
Shweta has her hand up. I don't know if you.
All right, let's hear it.
You know, when you were saying, yeah, there's a lot of times we're so unconsciously committed, right, to this playing small in so many ways. And there are billions of interesting excuses and white lies we tell ourselves in the process. I'm just wondering, in your experience, I'd love to hear in your lived experience, like, because I think we all go through that. Like, how have you stepped out of it, or how did the awareness come to you of that you were playing small, and then what did you do about it? Like, what was that first step that you did, but that may not be right for other people, but maybe what would you recommend
Yeah.
for people to step out of that pattern? Because once the awareness comes, now it's like, great, now what the hell are you going to do about it, right? So
Yeah, well, it's continuing. I mean, one of the relatively early things was moving to America from Denmark, and starting with wanting to study a year abroad while I was in college, and then like US is the country. It was way more complicated than just going to France or Germany or some other European country. It was like dramatically more. Plus, I didn't know anything. I didn't know much of anything about America. Like, I bought a road atlas. This is like pre-Google Maps, right? I bought a road atlas so I could get a sense of like, what cities are there in this country? Like, I had no idea about like New York versus LA versus Chicago versus like any of those places. Like, so starting to read about all that stuff, and then making the decision. And then when I came back, it was like holding on to, like, I knew. So for me, I knew that I was drawn to experience America at that time. Once I got here, I was like, this is home for me. This is my place. I belong here. And that was a challenge for many years, because like my family members didn't understand it, including my wife. At the time, they were like, oh, it's just like this like infatuation, it's a fad, it's going to go away, it's just like you let him kind of like run that thing off. And they didn't understand how I'm like, no, this is my place, this is my stage, not Denmark. And so insisting on that, and it took me, after I was here for 2.5 years, moved back to Denmark, though it's supposed to be 2 years, but ended up being 9, where I was battling constantly my family, my wife, on this issue, and plus like immigration and visas and all of that stuff, which was like a bitch. It really was, to the extent that we actually tried to move over here with my new wife in 2011, got denied a visa, ended up moving to India, was there for a year, and then was like, still didn't have a visa, went over to the States as tourists, and gambling that we could make it work this time. And we did, and we finally got our visa in 2014. But that was, a good, what would that be? That would be a good like 13 years of sticking with the dream and insisting on it, despite all of the challenges and adversity. And a big shift for me was, with the visa, was recognizing that I had an unconscious commitment to not belonging. right? And so me manifesting a visa denial and all this trouble getting a visa was me, like, manifesting that I don't belong here, and being like, oh, like I have that thing that I don't feel like I belong anywhere, which is probably back to my birth trauma. And then being like, oh, I choose to belong here. I choose to belong here. And that was a kind of a big emotional shift. And then we applied and we got the visa. So that's an example of how I approach that. Yeah. All right, guys, we are up. Thank you so much, Anne. Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much to everybody here. It was great to see you guys. It's a wrap for this week. I'll catch you guys next week. We'll still be on between Christmas and New Year's. I don't know if Bryson will be here, but you will be here. Great. I'll be there. I'll be back in New York. So I'll catch you all next week. Have an amazing week. Great to see you.